What's going on, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Expected Bets 4. On today's episode, we'll be breaking down the slate from March 21st. Looks like a good slate on paper. We'll touch on 6 of those games. Before we get into that, let's bring in the rest of the crew here. Betzky, how we doing?
Good. Oh, man, I saw Dune 2 last night. Super solid.
How was it?
Super cool. Really cool.
I need to see that.
Yeah.
How long is that?
It was like 2 hours and 45 minutes, but it didn't feel like it at all.
Okay.
Pacing was really good. You probably don't need to see the first one, but I mean, obviously you should. Way more exciting than the first one. I loved the David Lynch Dune when I was a little kid, but I don't think I ever really understood what was going on. I just thought it looked cool. So it's neat seeing it like pieced together well. And because originally, I guess I was reading about last night, he had like a 10-hour version of the film, or there's about like 10 hours or maybe 5 hours.
I could see that.
Hours.
I could see that from David Lynch for sure.
And they made him cut it, obviously, and then and again, I think it was 5. I think the original Dune movie that never actually got made in the 70s was supposed to be like 10 hours. Like Salvador Dali was asked to be in it.
Is there more movies after this, or is that the end?
I think there's a third one. Yeah, okay. The way so this one goes, if you've seen the 80s one, this one kind of wraps up almost all of that. So I haven't read the book, so I don't know what happens next, but there's this probably isn't the end. I think it's wrapped up enough that if the studios don't want to do a third, it would be fine. But
I think there's so much hype about it, though. I think they're gonna make the third one at this point. So
and see it in the theaters. I mean, the sound like makes your seats rattle, and it was really fun. It was a good movie experience.
Yeah. Franco, how we doing out there in Philly? You guys are holding on for the third spot in the Metro. Looks like you I think this is our first time that one of our teams is going to be in the playoffs in the two seasons we've been doing this. So you won the prize there.
I know, who would have thought at this point, right? I'm still, I don't know, man. I'm still worried. They just don't look good. I know they won last night against Toronto, but they almost blew that game too. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of issues there. We already talked about Ersan not being ready for that full-time role, and I think that more games he starts, the worse off it's going to look. And I think he's probably a good decent goalie, but that doesn't help. And they benched Couturier the other day, and he came out and made some comments.
Yeah.
Why?
That's not a great start heading into the postseason there, benching your captain.
Yeah, I mean, like I get it, right? Torts is trying to do his thing, right? That's kind of what he does to try to motivate people. And I don't know how much Couturier has in the tank in general, right? And he had 2 seasons off, and then they ran him hard to start the season. He was getting top line minutes, and I don't know if even when he was good, if he was ever really like a true 1C, I feel like he's more of a 2C in general. And you're talking about a guy now coming off of 2 years out of the league, essentially with back problems and stuff. And now you're just going to run him hard. And what do you expect him to be at with his level of juice at this point in the season? So I don't know. They're kind of playing him out of necessity in that role. And I don't know that he can sustain it either. So him and Ersan are kind of in the same boat, where it's like, you don't know if they can even last for the rest of the season. They're running on fumes, it feels like. So I don't know. It's kind of a weird situation.
Yeah. Sandstrom started to pick up a few more games as well, kind of heading into the postseason as well. So you see him a little bit. But with that being said, let's hop into the games for March 21st. We'll get to the games in a second, but first I want to talk to you about AG1. Taking care of your health isn't always easy, but it should at least be simple. That's why, for the past 2 years, I've been drinking AG1 every day, no exceptions. It's just 1 scoop, mixed in water, once a day, every day, and it makes me feel energized, focused, and ready to take on the day. That's because each serving of AG1 delivers my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, I like to drink AG1 first thing in the morning, which is recommended for optimal nutrition absorption. I fill up my shaker with extra cold water, add 1 scoop of AG1, shake it up, and I'm ready to go. If I'm running short on time and can't mix my AG1 before heading out, I'll grab a travel pack. It's an individual serving of AG. If there's one product I had to recommend to elevate your health, it's AG1. And that's why I've partnered with them for so long. So if you want to take ownership of your health, start with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/expectedbets. That's drinkag1.com. Here, the first game up, we have the New York Rangers traveling to Boston to take on the Bruins here. The Bruins lead the Atlantic here with 97 points. Florida's right behind them. Florida's got 2 games in hand with 94 points, so should be an exciting battle coming down the stretch here. New York leads the Metro Division with 94 points. Carolina right behind them with 92 here. New York's defeated Boston in both their previous matchups this season here. Boston 7-2-1 in their last 10. Swayman expected to get the nod for the Bruins, 5 and 4 goals against in his last 2 games. So it'll be interesting to see how he responds to that here. Shesterkin expected to get the nod for the Rangers, 3-2 and 5 goals against in his last 3 games here. So I'll start with you here, Betzky, and this one. Any looks in New York, Boston?
I mean, you're painting a really great picture for the over, right?
I know, right? But the over's only at 5.5, which makes you pause. Why is it so low?
I mean, the books tend to not adjust quickly on teams like Carolina and Boston. So early in the season, like near the beginning, Carolina was one of the worst teams defensively.
Yep.
And we're allowing like some of the top amount of shots, and like the books just weren't adjusting at all. Like you would still get guys who were normally at 3.5 lines back down to 2.5 and whatnot. And then after kind of like a long road trip, they started figuring things out again. I would be more concerned with Shesterkin than Swayman.
Boston has that second option in Allmark.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I feel like he can bust a slump or a trend of allowing more goals way quicker than most goalies in the league. I feel like he's one of the more unpredictable elite goalies where any given day he may be leaky and any given day he may just be able to stonewall you. So, but it is Mika March, right? So
Mika
by those
Madness.
trends,
Yeah, this is what everyone's been talking about. Yeah,
so
your bracket out.
Yeah, get your Mika bracket out, and so I mean, if he only has 1 goal so far this March, and
yeah, I don't have him circled as any player props in this one.
He averages.
He's got 2 goals his last 3 games.
Oh, he does. Okay, so
yeah.
he averages about 6 to 7 goals in the month, and I'm assuming they probably play about 10 to 12 games, right? So if you go by that trend, then technically we should get a nice goal there from the top line. And then what? Does this become a race or does this slow down? Either way, I like Mika tomorrow. I mean, point would be a parlay piece. You could probably try to juice up a goal. I'd like to see if he has some history against Boston before I do a goal. But the other guy on New York that I've really feel like just kind of snap back into it may be Lafreniere. So went cold after this crazy run on his shots, but this happens all the time with players who kind of find their game versus players who kind of have these weird like wagon, like 2 weeks of being a wagon. I feel like Laff has found his game. He's a former first overall pick in 2020, highly touted prospect coming in. That draft was like super hyped. I think COVID kind of slowed things down for them a little bit. But I kind of want to get right back onto his shots. So I think he missed 2 or 3 games in a row after hitting like 8 straight. And then last game he played, he snapped right back into having a 4-shot performance with a ton of attempts. Boston's been fairly leaky against shots. I question their depth still. So I think there's a lot of ways that New York can mismatch here. Another one that I would dabble in, and especially for the price you can get if it's available, is Capo Caco point. Because again, if you're going to ride Mika March, you might as well get the line mate that it's going to be probably around plus money to maybe at worst minus 120 for his point prop.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like a general statement for potentially these next couple of weeks too. I guess we're almost done with March. It's March 20th. Holy shit.
Yeah. You always think March Madness starts like right at the beginning of March, and it's pretty much like the last week. Yeah.
But yeah, Kako's been looking a lot better as of late too. So I don't know. I think that's where you're going to find a little bit of value on like kind of straight plays here. Pasternak coming off a hat trick, obviously. I'd like to look at his history versus the Rangers. I'm sure that will be kind of telling because they see each other a lot and have both been competitive for a while. And his attempts have been great for a long time, for like the past 10 games, really. He just can't seem to hit the net, and then really went off against Ottawa, who is a target he loves. But I'll kind of take a look at the history there because New York was allowing like the most shots against in the league for a minute there. But I do think there was like a game or two that really swayed that because they really kind of went back down to the bottom third. But that's kind of chalky, but some little gems in there with Kako, I guess, and Lav.
Yeah, no, I like that as well. Franco, any looks for you here in this one?
Yeah, I want to say I think that the value might be on Roslovic actually for the Rangers there, because Kako has been on the top line, but I think he's been kind of bounced around a little bit.
You're right. I'm sorry. I forgot that Roslovic kind of took over after the deadline.
Yeah, so I think that might be the piece you want to look at though. With that in mind, kind of like what you said, because I had him circled for a point, because I mean I think he has a point in like 2 of his last 3, I believe. And he's starting to kind of fit in a little bit there. He's shooting a little bit, not a ton. I know he's been missing that a decent amount, so he's not been that wagon he was before that trade, unfortunately. But I think he's starting to kind of fit in a little bit there. And like you said, if Mika's going to score, hopefully he gets involved in it. So I like that as the pivot there. And the other piece is Fox. I feel like they've been offering his point prop's been like minus 140, minus 135 area. And for a player like him, where he can sometimes score, I know he's more of an assist guy, but he's kind of sneaky on the power play and jumps in a lot, where it kind of worries me going too heavy on the assist too much. So if I can get his point under minus 140, pretty much anytime I like him in a matchup, I'm going to hit it. So, and I think because it's Boston, I think we're going to get that. I think we're going to see like a minus 135 probably.
On top of it, he's like in the 70 percentile for hitting on a point on away games versus home, where he's closer to like 50%. Yeah, I love that. I don't know how that skipped my mind.
Yeah, it should not be bettable. It should not be bettable. You know,
it was like minus 180 the past couple seasons.
Yes, yeah, that's where he should be minus 160 in a negative
for an assist, not a point.
Yeah. I mean, we have seen that before. We've seen his assist be minus 150 before. So why the hell are we getting point at minus 140? Like, I'd rather take that insurance. I know a lot of people will shift to the assist once. Yeah, but minus 140 is like right on that cusp for me, where I'm like, you know what, I'll take it. So that will be where I'm going to look there. And then Zacha on the Boston side.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, if you're going to bet any pasta props, I don't know why I haven't bet this guy at all. I've seen you hit him a few times, Gator, and I'm just like, he hit again. He hit again. And I just, I don't know why I'm not betting this guy every game,
insane.
Man. It's crazy.
The thing too with Zacha too, it's perfect. Like, you don't have to really decide between a goal or an assist at this rate, because he's kind of split across his last 10 games, 5 goals, 6 assists here. But I mean, his point prop in half these games is still 130, like 135. It started last game. It did creep kind of into that minus 140 range. So I'm worried that kind of the books have caught on and we're going to be a little bit priced out of the Zacha point here. So that's the only concern I have here. But Another guy on the Boston side, DeBrusk, has started to pick it up as of late as well, too. 10 points in his last 10, 4 goals, 6 assists. So I like him as well. He's been quiet for the majority of the year, I feel like. So I don't mind him as well. And I think he is a little bit better priced than Zacha at this point, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, and I think given the 5.5 over under, we're going to see some value. I don't think Zacha is going to move past that minus 130 range for this game. Next game, whoever they're playing, I'm not sure. That's where you're going to see it. Minus 140, minus 145. But I think given the matchup, you're going to get value on both Fox and Zacha here, despite them not. In reality, they shouldn't be bettable. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Panarin's even line at 1.5 has started to hit recently, too. He's got 15 in his last 10 here, 5 goals, 10 assists. And then going off that, another guy is going to be set at 1.5. Pasternak has 14 points in his last 10, 6 goals, 8 assists as well. So the Stars are starting to show up, getting ready for the postseason here. So that's pretty much all I have. That 5.5, I could see it shifting. I think it's around minus 120 now, so it could be 6 before puck drop. But it's certainly tempting, kind of given the recent form of both these teams, to not hammer the over here at that 5.5 mark. So any other closing thoughts here on New York, Boston?
Oh, this should be a really good game, though, the more we're talking about it.
Yeah. It'll be a good game for sure.
And yeah, for that, just one more comment on that Kakko Rosalic. I would just check lines tomorrow, and whichever one of those guys is on the top line, if they keep on shifting. I know Rosalic's been great lately, so.
Yeah, Kreider even up there on that top line too, a point, but averaging a point per game in his last 10 too, but that's power play, you got to consider that too. So, all right, next game up here, we got the Islanders traveling to the Red Wings here. The Islanders are even money in this one. Detroit minus 120, over under set at 6.5, juice to the under at minus 115. Detroit's currently holding on to that second wild card position here with 76 points. However, they face the Islanders, who have 73 points right behind them, so this should be a good matchup. Contrary to kind of, I guess, popular belief, you'd consider both teams trying to play hard for this second wildcard spot. That is not the case. Both these teams have been an absolute fucking dumpster fire as of late. The Islanders enter on a 5-game losing streak here. They've been outscored 20-6 during that stretch, which is insane for a team that's trying to make the postseason. Sorokin expected to get the start here, 3-5-3 goals against in his last 3. Detroit, another team who's kind of on the downswing of things, 2-8 in their last 10. However, they have won 2 of their last 3. Reimer expected in Detroit's 3-headed dragon. We talked about it before the show here. It's not so much a dragon, but a trio of sick puppies that they're just going to trot out for the Red Wings tonight here. So we'll see who gets to start there. There is some value in player props here, but I don't mind the Islanders in this one at all at even money here. 5-game losing streak here. They snapped Detroit's 6-game winning streak last time they played. So we'll see what happens here. The series is 1-1, but I'll start with you here, Franco, in this one. Any looks for you?
Yeah, it feels like an over on the surface, at least, right? I know it's
6.5. Yeah.
I mean, like you said, both goalies have been struggling. Both defenses have been struggling. I don't know. The offenses, at least for the Islanders, has not been that good. I know typically we bash the Islanders offense in general, right? But even
Detroit
for their
put up 3 against they almost lost to Columbus the other night.
Yeah, it's not like that inspiring,
No.
Coming into this game. It should be an ideal game for them to get right, I guess you would say. And history looks decent. I mean, Brock Nelson looks fantastic. 9 points in 7 games against them. 6 of those are goals. Wow. So
Nelson's also got 13 points in his last 10.
Yeah. So if I can get his point, that'd be nice. I don't think we're going to, given this is 6.5. It's probably going to be like that minus 160 range or something stupid, which sucks because like it's not like that team's been tearing it up, like I said. But I don't know. It's one of those things where maybe you just shift to his goal prop and bite the bullet there. Maybe that's what I'll go with. Barzal as well has 6 assists in 6 games versus them, so that looks pretty decent as well. I mean, in reality, a bunch of guys pop. Even Dobson 6 points or 6 assists in 7 games. So it's one of those things where, like, do you believe the Islanders are going to get right in this game, or do you believe that they're going to continue to just play like shit? I feel like it's the former here, because they got to start winning games, and I think they're in a better, or they have a better core and team that's done this before, I guess you would say, than Detroit does. Obviously, Detroit's floundering, and they're, they had the fight at practice the other day, and everybody thought that they're gonna come out and have a great game after that, and they still play like shit. So,
like, 4-1 loss to the Yotes after that fight. So
yeah,
that
it's
works.
like, seriously, man. Like I tend to think that the Islanders are going to perform better than Detroit in these next couple of weeks. We'll see if that's what really happens. I think, like I said, they have that veteran core. They've been a fringe playoff team for the last however many years at this point. It seems like forever. They just continue to get there or be right on the edge there. So Detroit's not. So, but that's where I probably lean as far as that side. And the only real one, with that being said, I don't really want to go too crazy on the Detroit side. It's either going to be Raymond, who's just been red hot, 5 goals in his last 3. Not the best history against them, but I mean, that's one of those things where I feel like you got to weigh that recent form versus previous history. And like we're saying, the Islanders defense hasn't been good either. So, and the other one that pops, which, I love backing this guy, is Daniel Sprong. 5 goals, 3 assists in 9 games versus them. So,
wow.
I don't know why the hell he pops against them, what the Islanders did to him, but he's probably the best history of all these guys on the Detroit side. So he hasn't been particularly great recently, but we know what kind of player he is. He's a guy that just doesn't get a ton of minutes and somehow just is productive out of nowhere. So I think you're going to see some value for him if you're going to go on that Detroit side.
Yeah, that was like Raymond the other night too. He had in each of his last 8 games versus Columbus, and you're like, where is this history coming from here? And yet he continued to put up a 2-point night. On the Detroit side as well, Ghost assist has continued to cash.
Yeah.
He's been great for that Detroit side. He's got 7 assists in his last 10 games. I'm not sure of his history versus the Islanders, but that would be another kind of lean that I have. And then Palmieri as well on the New York side for a goal scorer maybe. But Betzky, any looks for you here?
I mean, I think you guys covered everything that needs to be said about this game, to be honest. I had circled Raymond though. I just took a look. He was playing with Velena on the second line, and who else was on his wing? Was it Rasmussen or Perron? Because now they bumped him to the first line with Comfer and Perron. So
yeah, that's the last game was him with Comfer and Perron.
Okay, cool. Then that kind of takes my concerns away, because I was going to say if he's on a brand new line and getting bigger minutes and whatnot and being the focal point for the other team to be able to shut down, maybe I'd be a little bit more hesitant on him. But he was one of those guys in said fight, and that seemed to really have sparked him. So yeah, I'll probably keep on riding that Raymond train for a little bit, especially if he get it at a bettable price. The other one I would probably look at on the Islanders side that we haven't talked about is Horvat shots on goal. Detroit's been so leaky to centers, and it's one of those things that a lot of times centers will get bumped up. So I'm assuming we'll see him at 3.5. It has scared me off the past couple games, and this time it will not. I will roll with Horvat tomorrow. I'm almost fairly completely certain, but we'll see. Maybe there'll be something in the charts that scares me off, but centers have just been rolling against them, including guys like Cole Sillinger and stuff like that.
That's another that we talked about, I think, our last podcast of Sam Bennett when you bet his shots on goal too. And there's always just a little voice inside your head that says, "Are you sure you really want to do this?
Yeah,
spend your hard-earned money." And but yeah, no, I do like that look as well here. The next game up here, we have Franco's Flyers taking on the Hurricanes here. Philly plus 195 in this one. Carolina minus 238 here. Over under set at 6. Philly 5-4-1 in their last 10 here. I was looking at Philly's schedule coming up too. It's brutal. So they have Carolina, then they have New York, then they have Florida, then they have Boston. So, I mean, you're getting ready for the playoffs at least, a little tune up before you guys make it. So, and then on the opposite side of things, Carolina's been rolling 8-2 and 0 in their last 10. They're on a 4-game winning streak here. Carolina is returning from a 3-game road trip here. Betzky, I know it's kind of an angle that you like to target here of teams returning home, but Carolina has looked damn good in their past few games here. So curious to see how you attack that. Anderson as well, after returning from injury, had a few rough starts, but he's allowed 2 or fewer goals, in his last 8 starts. So he's been great. The only issue is Anderson in the playoffs, I guess, again, which has been a issue in the past. So I'll start with you here, Franco, in this one. Any looks in Philly, Carolina?
Well, just to look at a little history here, the Flyers are 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 for the last 1-9 in their last 10 against Carolina. So that's how we'll start things off there.
Okay.
Very good. Giving up a ton of goals in those games as well, a lot of 4s or more. So I feel like, and I know it's obviously a different team that's been the last few years, so don't want to go too crazy on that, but 2 guys kill the Flyers in this matchup. Really, I mean, a few guys do, but Aho does always. I feel like he's just always productive against the Flyers. Shots on goal, points, goals, pretty much everything you can bet. I know you're not going to get any kind of value on him, unfortunately, usually. So you might have to go goal or shots or parlay him with one of his line mates. And I guess at this point, that's going to be Gensel, really. I know Jarvis has been red hot too, so maybe you just go to his point. His point's been bettable, but I don't mind doing like an Aho Gensel point if I can do that. That should be a bettable parlay, I would assume, on some books. I know it's not available everywhere, but Gensel kills the Flyers too for all of his time with the Penguins. He has plenty of history against them. 14 points in 13 games. Aho has 10 points in his last 11 against them. So, I mean, even Kuznetsov pops 8 assists in 10 games. So it's like, I mean, really, it's kind of one of those things. I always hate betting Carolina props because they're so freaking deep. And I know recently it's been kind of the top line being a little bit better than everybody else, but I feel like at any point that can kind of shift, and it's just the floor drops out on you when you start being like, oh, I'm going to bet Jarvis every game because he's been productive, or I'm going to bet Aho shots because he's been good these last 3 games or 2 games, whatever. So I'll just say be wary with that in general with this team, because I mean, at this point, with the addition of Gensel now, I mean, they have, I know their third line is not like that big goal scoring line with Stahl and Martinook and Fost, but there's those stretches during the season where that line is randomly productive as hell and they're scoring goals, and that Aho line just goes quiet. So hopefully it's not tomorrow when we do these bets and it'll be Jarvis or somebody from that top line. But I mean, Jarvis points been bettable every game. Yep. He's like -120, -130.
Yep. On the top
goal scorer. Just
and he's been scoring too. So.
He's 7 goals in his last 10.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been scoring like crazy.
Yeah, Aho and Gensel have just been feeding him. Aho's got 9 assists in his last 10. Gensel's got 9 assists in his last 10 as well here.
Yeah.
You even look at
Jarvis. I love seeing Shevnikov and Natchez together again too.
Yeah. I mean, this team is
out.
This team is so good, man. I know that they still really truly don't have that like pure goal scorer guy, and we've kind of harped on that in seasons past. But I mean, when you look at them from top to bottom, I don't like really love the fourth line, but they have their place, I guess you would say. But those 3 lines can score, and this team's ready for the playoffs. I just hope they get the goaltending this year to get them where they need to be. But I'm not really looking at too many Philly props. Let's just put it that way. I would only be looking Carolina props, maybe team total, maybe a team total in reg, maybe goals against. However you can get your bets in on Carolina, that's where I'm going to be looking. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so speaking of Carolina, their offense has been red hot in their last 10. They're averaging 4.1 goals for on the season. They average around 3.4. Philly's defense has been worse as well in their last 10, giving up an average of 3.5. On the season, they only give up an average of 3 per game. So should be interesting to see who's in net too. For Philly as well, it looks like Sandstrom's going to get the nod after Urson did last game. So something else to monitor there. Betzky, any looks for you in this one?
Yeah, I'm all about Kuznetsov right now. He has a point in, I think, every single game since he's been picked up by Carolina. Maybe he's only missed on one. I'm sorry, he missed on his first 2 and then has 3 assists and a goal since. His shots have actually been all right. He's had 3-4, 3-3, and then had 1 against the Islanders last night. It's a kind of a weird angle, but Philly's a little tough on shots, so I don't know if that's exactly what you would want to go after tomorrow, but keep that in kind of your back pocket for better matchups against centers, especially if, maybe they get Detroit or somebody coming up. Nature's shots on goal has been one of the best parlay pieces that you can get right now. It's kind of a set it and forget it. I think he's only missed in 1 of his last 10. He's just been ultra productive with his shots. Just, again, really nice kind of wagon piece, and kind of highlighted these types of props that you just ride until it ends. But he's done this last season. He was really slow to start the season, and it seems like the chemistry is there, and he is just firing it lately. So yeah, and I mean, as you mentioned, Jarvis on the top line, he was a minus 120 yesterday, had 2 goals. I imagine we're going to get an all right price because it seems like books are respecting maybe Philly a little bit too much.
Yeah, no reason.
Yeah. So I'm not really going to touch any Flyers things either. If anything, maybe like a Farabee point, or Frost has been hot recently.
Ellis as well has been good for Philly as of late too.
Can you even get those props? Ryan Ellis props?
Wait, Ryan Ellis.
No, never mind. Yeah, I had him circled, but yeah, that's my bad. That's on me.
Real quick.
That's on me.
Kuznetsov shots. Is he at 2 or is he at 3?
He's at 2, so you can alt it to 3 potentially.
So just a heads up. I looked at his history versus Philly. It's 2-3-4, 2-3-4. His last, was that 6 games? So that 2 is awesome. I would love that as a piece. Maybe go him 2 and Nature's 2 or Nature's 3, whatever.
They're ladder them both, 2 and 3, and then 3 and 4.
I love that. I'll be using him as a piece for sure tomorrow.
So Washington's only 3 points behind Philly for that third spot in the Metro. If they jump him, Kuznetsov would face off against his former team in the first round.
Wow.
That would be a great matchup, wouldn't it?
That will be like he will be the guy every NHL capper is on after like the second game of that series. So people kind of put 2 and 3 together.
Washington's got 2 games in hand on him and 3 points behind, so it is a possibility.
Now I'm rooting for Washington to make it just for that.
Yeah, that would be insane. All right. Here, next game up, we got Nashville traveling to Florida here. Nashville plus 160, Florida minus 192, over under at 6.5 here. Nashville 8-2 in their last 10 games. Florida 7-3 in their last 10 here. Nashville's in that wild card 1 spot out west here. Florida 3 points behind Boston, but they do have 2 games in hand here. I'll start with you here, Betzky, in this one. Any props or sides that you're looking at in this one?
So Florida's been a little weird lately. It seemed like we were about to get the whole Voltron Panthers prop play where you could take it just every single one of them at their normal line and hit. But it's didn't quite assemble and has been a little bit more scattered lately. But the first guy that is really coming to my mind and I'm curious about the price again is Reinhart, because he's been heating up a little bit again. He's been very streaky kind of all season. And once he's hot, again, I've said it like so many times on this podcast, but the wagon play of just ride it. So that's kind of my first gut feeling here. I kind of want to just slam the over here too for some reason. And that's another just total gut play here. And I talked about this last week when it was Dallas against Florida, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, of when kind of the top teams, and I can't believe Nashville's kind of playing like one right now, face off against each other. They generally get to score on each other. I mean, it's not like every game in the playoffs is an under because they're all the best defensive teams playing against each other. No, like they break through and they can manage to put up points. And I think what is the over right now? Is it 5?
6.5.
It is
6.5. It's juiced to the over too. It's minus 120. So you could be onto something there.
Yeah. I just feel like this is one of those types of games where if Nashville gets the lead early, like we saw the other night, who did the Panthers play that they came back and won? Was it Vegas?
Yeah, I believe it was Vegas, right?
That the Panthers can come back and win. Like we've seen this time and time again, especially at home. And I think that's probably your best bet of having a outlandish game is Nashville going up early. I think it was against the Stars, actually. Florida won 4-3. So I think Stars went up 3-0, if I remember correctly, and then Florida won. Another guy that's been really great at home, and I'm trying to find shots against by position real quick, is Montour. He's been
better
streaky.
as of late.
He's been better as of late. His attempts have been better as of late, and I think Forsling kind of producing and being back has helped a lot. Nashville is not a great target against defensemen, though. So
look at wingers. That'd be Nashville's target. They've been
it would. So that would lead me to go for that Reinhart piece, even if it has to be a parlay piece. And then Tarasenko's been a tough cookie lately. He started red hot. It felt like this was going to be a play that was going to be really solid for now until the rest of the season, but has really cooled off. Don't forget he played on St. Louis for a very long time, has a lot of familiarity with Nashville, though. So he may be good for a point, especially since he's missed his past couple games. And I'm all about those kind of next day betting and bounce back opportunities. So that may be one to look into as well. I'm going to pull up his history. As far as the Nashville side, I mean, Yossi Assist has been out of control lately. Again, if you believe that this thing's going to go over, why skip it? I was kind of cooling off on his point or his assist prop. I know there was a ton of value there, but he had a game where he only had 2 goals, no assist. He scored again last game, but then managed to get an assist or maybe 2 after that.
Yeah, they had eight points. That was yeah, he had a few there too. I had Novak point in that one. He finally got a goal with the 8th one. So I was like, it took you long enough, like Jesus. But it made me sweat.
Yeah, those are those games where you're sweating and you're like, come on, man.
God, you guys have 7 goals. And crazy.
I mean, with Heacher last night, even though it was only 5 goals, but still. But yeah, I'm ready to completely load up the Yossi assist tomorrow, though. Florida is taking a ton of penalties again. This is definitely an old habits die hard situation for this team because at the start of the season they were very disciplined. Now they rank second and first over the last 10 games for power play opportunities to their opponents. So maybe lean into anybody on that top power play unit for Nashville, maybe even on the second, because they are definitely going to get some extra minutes there. So yeah, Yossi assist, I love. I need to take a double check Montour shot attempts. If those are kind of sky high still, I may dabble because you're going to get a great price against Nashville. And then Reinhart, whether it's a parlay piece or just in that bettable range, that's probably something I'm going to be looking at. And then I want to pull up Tarasenko versus Preds. But I feel like anybody playing with Barkov and they don't have a point in 2 or 3 games straight is due. So,
yeah, too. And another look that's kind of flown under the radar for the Nashville side has been Nyquist assist as well. He's got 11 assists in his last 10 games. Yossi only has 10. So a little bit better price that you're going to get on that one as well. Forsberg's been phenomenal in his last 10 as well with 15 points here. even Brady Tkachuk assist, 10 assists in his last 10 games as well. So another look on that side. And going back to your Reinhart point, Reinhart has 9 goals in those last 10. So I like that as well. Franco, any looks for you here in this one?
Yeah, I won't go too crazy because I think Betzky covered it mostly. I might even go 2 points with Yossi, though, just because I feel like that's where you get the value with him as well. You can kind of get covered with that goal just in case he gets one, and then maybe he gets an assist late and stuff like that. So I feel like he's been hitting his 2-point prop again the last few games. I kind of was hitting it earlier in the season and then laid off a little bit because he stopped kind of reaching it. So again, if Florida's giving up a ton of power plays, that's only just going to feed into that. So I don't mind Nyquist's point either. I know you said the assist, but his point's been bettable as well. And I think given the matchup, that'll probably be around minus 130-ish as well. So that's probably not a bad look. And yeah, I mean, I know you mentioned Reinhart shots, but I might go to his goal as well. He's been scoring as well again. So I don't mind that. Decent history against them. 3 goals in his last 5. And like you said, playing shot volume against them as well, averaging almost 4 shots a game against them. So he's going to be firing. He's feeling confident again. He's firing in general. So like that look as well. I don't want to hit Bennett, although he does look good as well with the history against them. He averages almost 4 shots a game versus them as well. And 8 points in those 5 games as well against them. So maybe you pivot to him. There should be value, but again, it's kind of scary. I do think this is an over game, though. I think kind of pick your props. Hopefully you get one, and it's not a game where you see 6 goals and it's not your guy. So I think you can kind of splatter the board, so to speak, in this game, and you'll be coming out feeling pretty good when it's all said and done.
Yeah. Tarasenko has 37 points in 42 career games against the Predators, and he has 0 points in the last 5 against them. So we're really talking about 37 points in the last 37 games.
So he's ultra due then. He's due like
super due.
Super due. It's funny. And going back to your Montour point as well, I just pulled up his last 10. So he's averaging 5.5 shot attempts across that span and 3 shots on goal. So that's all I have in this one here. Next game up here, we got Buffalo traveling to Edmonton. Buffalo plus 180 on the money line here. Edmonton minus 218. Total set at 6 here, juice to the over. This is Buffalo's 4th game in 6 days. They played last night against Vancouver. In that first period, they looked dead. It was a back-to-back, but this team looks like it's kind of slowly running out of juice here. They did turn things around a little bit in the third, put on some pressure, made it a 3-2 game. But, I don't know what to think of this team. Edmonton's 7-3 in their last 10 games here. So they've been rolling as well. Looks like it's going to be a UPL Skinner matchup, which is the 2 best goalies for each team as well. So I don't know. The total at 6 here is interesting. These teams did play on March 9th where Buffalo beat them 3-2, but Buffalo was at home. So that's all I got in this one here. Franco, I'll start with you. Any looks in this one?
Yeah, I kind of want to go back to Byram here. I know he was red hot to start for you guys and then kind of cooled off. Not the best history versus them, but I think if they're going to continue to offer his prop, I feel like there's like that it's like this weird thing, right? Like the guy comes in, you would think his prop would be available. It's not. He has like 3 or 4 like great games. They're still not offering his prop. And then finally, magically, one day it pops up and you're like, hammer it. Finally, they give it to us.
Yeah.
And then he does nothing. And you're like, and then you might even come back to it again. And the same freaking thing happens. And then finally, when they beat you to death, with it just not hitting, and you're like, I'll never bet this guy again. That's when he starts hitting. So I only bet him once, and I'm not sure. Did he record a point in the last game? I don't know, but it might be time to at least start considering it again. Is what I'm getting at. I think you're going to get good value on it. He's getting good playing time on Buffalo. They're gonna let him play, him and
Dahlian just eat minutes for this team. It's
that's what I'm saying.
Insane amount. Yeah,
just the minutes amount, and he's getting the opportunity, right? We know he's a talented player. he just never was given that opportunity in Colorado. They're just so freaking deep on their blue line that he just never was able to fit in there. So if it's not this game, I'm just saying, keep him on your radar and don't get too discouraged, because it just always happens like that, where they finally offer a player like that and just for whatever reason they just fall off a cliff. So I'm basically that's it for you can point out a couple other guys. I'm sure you guys will touch on them for the Buffalo side, but I really, like you said, all these games in the last few days for Buffalo, this is not a good spot against this team that you want to be coming in. And McDavid's been red hot. He came off that game with no points and did his thing as he always does. And I think you go right back to his 2 points, maybe go back to his 2 assists prop if that's in the minus 150 range, which I feel like it's going to get there pretty soon at this point. So I mean, it's crazy that we're talking that, right?
I know.
And why was it bettable for so long? It was in that like minus 105, like plus 100 in some games for his 2 points. So we'll see where it's at tomorrow. I don't mind the 2 points if it's bettable. If not, I'll just shift to his 2 assists there. So one guy's kind of been cooling off a little bit has been Hyman. Like if I know he has 3 goals, but that was a hat trick, right? And if you look at his chart, it's been like really poor, I guess you would say, over his last 10. I think he's only hitting like 3 of his last 10 or something like that, or 4 of his last 10, which he had that nice stretch where he was just getting a point every game. So maybe this is his game where he kind of gets back into it as well. So I might look at something there, maybe his goal prop or something. I know his point prop's never going to be bettable. So, and I mean, do we still get Kane revenge with Buffalo?
I looked at that, and it's not like the numbers don't really pop.
Yeah, it's not. No. I didn't think it did.
He wanted out.
Yeah, and I feel like revenge only works if it's like a bad situation. Like the Matheson one, getting traded away from Pittsburgh is perfect, because who the hell would want to be traded from a good team like Pittsburgh, or at least relatively at the time, to Montreal, right? Whereas getting out of Buffalo when they were bad is probably like a good thing for everybody.
Happy.
So,
yeah.
So I don't know if there's revenge.
I think it was a mutual breakup.
But with that being said, is he still going to be on the top line again? And I know I saw a few people hop on him late when he got announced on that top line last night, and of course he doesn't record a point. Yeah. So if he's on the top line again, and if he's still bettable at like that plus 100 or minus 110 range, I don't mind that either. But I feel like they're going to juice the hell out of it, because now the books know. So we'll see what happens there.
Even a Tage prop for his point has been bettable the past few games around that minus 125, minus 130 range. But I mean, he's been better away this season in general, and has pretty good numbers as of late. I don't mind that as well, given kind of the amount of minutes they have. But that would be kind of the only guy I look at. Skinner has 9 points his last 10, but he did just have that huge game. So the chart's a little skewed on that one as well. And yeah, agreed. Just McDavid 1.5 points. I mean,
yeah, just better every game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane. Betzky, any looks for you here?
Yeah, I mean, I like the McDavid one. The one that really stands out for me is Bouchard assist. He has hit in 4 straight games with 5 assists in those games. Very, very streaky guy. I think he's gone on like big blocks, especially at home, with assists and points. So when it's hot, ride it. I've been struggling with Buffalo props lately. Cousins was finally getting consistent, and I think I missed that train. I think I got one of those games when he was stringing those together. And both Edmonton and Buffalo have been tough on shots, but the one spot that Edmonton's been really leaky at, and actually are at the kind of near the top of the league at, is against left wingers. So I would kind of look up and down the lineup. I mean, is Skinner back on the top line for Buffalo?
No, he's on that second. I mean, the thing with Buffalo too is the lines shift so often.
Yeah.
Like it seems like it's 1 or 2 games where it's shift now. I mean,
it's
Skinner's
Gergensen on the top line.
Exactly. You're like, yeah. I mean, former
Wow.
first rounder.
Yeah, like
Panned out.
20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this Sabres seems so difficult to figure out in general. I mean, this season, so it's proceed with caution. The other thing that I was looking at too in terms of is UPL saves. So Edmonton
Ooh, I like that.
has, yep. So Edmonton's pretty much averaged 32 plus across their last 5 games here. Shots for. Buffalo's given up 33, 32 in their last 2 games on this road trip here, and they are not. I mean, there's really a day off in terms of recovery, and Edmonton's probably going to pepper them with shots. So, if you curious to see what that line is, maybe like 28 and a half.
No, you're going to see 30
high,
and a half.
20, 30 and a half.
30 guaranteed. But I would hit it.
You know what's interesting too? I didn't realize this. Buffalo has the 12th worst penalty kill over the last 10. I felt like they've been pretty good on special teams all season.
Oh no, our power play is horrendous.
Well, not your power play.
Yeah,
penalty
PK,
kill's been
decent
all season.
So McDavid power play point at like plus 100 or whatever it is.
Yeah,
usually. That's probably not a bad look.
Yeah, or the Bouchard power play point for plus 150 or whatever it is.
Take them all, sprinkle them all.
Especially with Buffalo being so damn tired too. I can imagine they'll potentially take a couple more sloppy penalties than they typically would, and that PK may be really, really tired.
Yep.
Yeah, they've taken 5 penalties in their past 2 games.
Yeah.
In each game. So they took 5-5, 2, 4-4. So
this is such
it's a bad spot. I was looking at like a Edmonton and regulation win here, but I think that's good. I think it's around minus 160. So I don't love it here. If anything, maybe like a first period line. So I don't know. But minus 145 for Edmonton in regulation. Don't hate it. But yeah, the UPL saves is probably where I'm going to lean in this game as well. All right.
I got one for you. I just from DK, right? So race to 4 goals is plus 110 for Edmonton to win. If you want to go a little juicier, race to 3 goals is minus 140 for Edmonton to win.
UPL has been so good as of late, though. That's the only concern, is that I could see this being like a 3-1 game where Edmonton puts up 35 shots.
Yeah.
You know, he's been fantastic for him. Like, which is
I just
crazy
worry
to
about
see
that penalty kill. Those penalty kill stats are making me feel like this could be. I mean, I'm surprised to see it over 6 in this game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Any other closing thoughts here?
No, yeah. I feel a lot more comfortable and ready to go into the slate tomorrow.
Yeah, it's crazy because we were talking when we sent the list earlier this week or the other day for these games. It's like I don't know. It felt weird, but after talking through these, I feel like I like a lot more than I thought it would. I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Yeah. This big slate, you can end up with 6 or 7 plays real quick. I feel like, especially tomorrow. March Madness, you get the gambling going early, and then you just ride that in the night NHL slate. So could be a fun one tomorrow. All right, you guys want to shout out your socials?
Sure. I'm Gretzky Betzky's on Twitter and part of the Parlay Science Discord.
And I'm Franco the Banker on Twitter at Franco the Banker.
Awesome. As always, you can find me on Twitter at Gator Betting and our podcast at Expected Bets 4. We appreciate everyone for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next week.